I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The answer to the question, is 2022 or 2023 the year of Linux desktop? Doesn't matter. Hi everyone, and in today's video I wanted to talk about Linux and this kind of question that's going to inevitably come up this year, which is, is 2023 the year of the Linux desktop? In the same way that 2022 was and 2021. Lots of big channels have also asked this and discussed this as well. But basically, my thoughts on this are pretty simple. I think I have a problem with the premise of is this year the year of the Linux desktop? And actually, one of the best examples of this actually was quite a few years ago when Steve Jobs was around and was asked a question, for Apple to win, Microsoft have to lose. If that was the premise of the question, then Apple will always have lost and Microsoft will win. Linux is inherently different, and the premise of the question doesn't really make too much sense. Because for me, this idea of, is Linux perfect, and it isn't. I run into issues, but can I do everything I need to do on the system? Yes, so I don't see a problem there. But if you were to ask the same question, is Windows perfect? Is Mac perfect? No one can honestly answer that question 100% and say, yes, I absolutely have no problems with that. One thing that forced me to switch from Windows to Linux for my gaming computer, the machine you see behind me now, was to do with audio problems, which ironically is a massive problem for a lot of people with Linux. But basically, that's what drove me over to switching full time. Now it's been about a year and a half since this machine behind me has been running single boot Linux the entire time. It is my primary gaming machine, but I also do a bunch of other stuff on there as well. And for the most part, it's been really stable. I use Manjaro Linux. I don't really care about opinions on flavors or distributions, but basically for me, Manjaro works really good. I like the rolling release updates. I like the kind of new features that keep coming out. I like the way the system functions. Do I have any problems with it? Yeah. I use KDE for my desktop environment, and it's really customizable, but with customizability comes with complexity, and that inevitably means bugs and odd behaviors, but basically it worked. But at the same time, I have had problems with my interface stuff in macOS before. I have had problems in Windows before, so this is not new. This is a computer thing. I think that if you're looking for an answer to switch, if you're one of those people who's like, oh, should I switch to Linux full time? I don't think you're going to find your answer in reviews. You're not going to find them in some website talking about, like this feature and that feature. All three of the main operating systems have tons of features. You really need to be asking yourself, can you do the things on the computer that you want to be able to do? So I'm going to give you a perfect example of this for myself. I play games on my computer. That's one of the things I do. Can I play games, the games that I play on my computer? Those games include everything from as basic as Project Zomboid, which is not so graphically intensive. It's a very cool game though, but I play that. That works fine. I play Elder Scrolls Online, objectively a more complicated game. That works perfectly fine for me. I also play Star Citizen, which is really quite complicated and also a very heavily graphical game. Works fine for me. I get really good frame rates and stuff like that. If there is some overhead in using Linux and the drivers that are on Linux that make it not as efficient, I don't notice it. The machine I have for playing games is pretty powerful. I'm not going to lie, so I don't notice, but at the same time, it could just be that for me, it's acceptable. I think, yeah, I can play, I can have fun. I don't need to have 200 FPS. I don't need to have some super, I don't need to get crunching into the numbers. I want to play and have fun. I video edit on there. I have Resolve, I have Kden Live. Those work great. I can do all Office stuff I need to do. I can do programming. I use VS Codium. Does it work on there? Yes, perfectly fine. Can I do stuff in Unreal Engine? It's native for Linux. You can compile it and run it, so I can do everything there. And can I do all the other stuff I need to do, like graphics programs? Yeah. So for me, I don't see a problem there. I think, yeah, can I do everything I need to do without needing another operating system or computer to do what I do daily? If you can answer those questions, yes, then a channel talking about is it ready for desktop is completely irrelevant for you. you should ask the questions yourself. The premise of the question is incorrect. I know that this year there will be more, to do with is 2023 the year of the Linux desktop? I just don't buy the premise of the question entirely. I don't think it's a reasonable question to ask. Apple are more similar to Microsoft than Linux is to Microsoft, and even they are nowhere near close, to even making a dent in that. Most people who use Windows are grandfathered into the system through business. It's about economies of scale. Linux is not even in the same area. I mean, Windows and Mac OS are traditional business sense companies, and the way that it operates is in a business sense. Linux is open source. It's free. So the answer, that's trying to compare Linux and Windows is not really, I don't know if it really works. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please do leave your, ideas in the comments below about what you think. But basically, I don't buy this premise that because they are two different things entirely, as far as I'm concerned, therefore the disadvantages and advantages and the constraints of Windows, Mac OS and Linux, they vary. And when you have three different platforms like that are varied, it's hard to compare them objectively in a way on the same benchmarks, on the same idea, because they're just not the same, in my opinion. I think that if you're happy using your computer, whether that's using Windows, Mac OS or Linux, then just use it, then be fine. For me, is Linux desktop ready? Can I daily drive it? This machine has been a year and a half, no dual boot, no nothing. I have a framework laptop on the way. I will install Linux on that. I use Mac OS and Linux at work. I get everything done. So for me, Linux is ready because I can do the things that I want a computer to do. If you can say the same answer to that question also, then for you, Linux is ready. If you run into issues, there'll be lots of people who will help you solve it. In the same way that if you have Windows or Mac OS and you run into an issue, there'll be people to help you solve it. So that's just my thoughts. This is kind of one of those opinions I had, and I was thinking, you know what? I hate that question. I hate the premise of, is this year Linux going to take over desktop? It's kind of one of those doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, because I am just one person. I use my computer for what I use it for, and it works. So that's my thoughts anyway. Please do leave your thoughts down in the comments below, yeah, I will see you in the next video.